and Isis is right here next to me. So hi guys, sorry you can't see me, you can only hear me, but I'm Amber, Director of the Tanzania Initiatives for Baltimore Green Justice, and we have spent the 2023 in just connecting, building relationships, trying to identify some pillars on how we can connect and building some bridges from Tanzania back to Baltimore in this climate, energy, environmental justice world. Most recently, what I wanted to share with you guys tonight is the title was A Bridge Over Troubled Water. So this is part of it right here. But one of the things that we most recently tapped into was some beach cleanup issues that started to really, as we go through the different layers of it, it started to really unfold and reveal a lot of not just the climate issues surrounding it, but also the socioeconomic impact that it's having and how we wanted to get the youth involved. Now, part of that work is going to take some time to build up to, and I'm using that as a homeschooling part of our curriculum for Isis as the youth warrior here. And I just wanted to say that we had some time to kind of look through some of the lessons and some of the resources that Clean Energy offered, that Clean Network offered online. And really just kind of wanted to build off from there because there's a lot of youth here. They don't get educated on these things, obviously, in a lot of the private school or the public school. So the idea was to try to get them involved in maybe some weekend or holiday type of training virtually and in person here, but using those activities, those assignments, those type of things there to kind of translate it here for English speaking students here that can become more aware of what's going on here in Tanzania and also connecting them with some similar issues in Baltimore. So I'm going to take a pause there and just ask if anybody has any questions before I continue, because I can't see any of you.
Thank you for the introduction. Okay. It's really good to hear from you. And I don't have any questions, but I'll stop talking in case someone else does.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So I don't know who's all in the room tonight, but I was definitely looking forward to reconnecting with some of the members, especially who had a lot to do with homeschooling curriculum, building up on lesson plans and things like that. One of the things that we envision in this, what they call Safi Day, Safi Day is Beach Cleanup Day. And so when we went out to clean up the beach, a lot of disturbing things. First of all, is that this is a country that is supposed to be big on tourism. They highly depend on tourism, but a lot of the beaches are really in a bad state. Particularly right now, one of the beaches are extremely bad because we've had some extreme rainy season that is lasting longer than expected. By December, it should have been over, and it's still happening. As we speak, we have a roof that is leaking, mold on the ceiling, and we are constantly in blackouts. But like I said, the blackouts haven't been, or power outages, I should say, hasn't been that bad in the past week, but lately it's been going on and off. But that's, even with us, okay, that's one thing, but we're looking at the people who have, like the fishermen who live along the beach and things like that, who make a living and really depend on the weather, really depend on the climate to be balanced and to things to just work as naturally in order. So when we went to go clean up the beach, we found rubbles. I had pictures and everything in my presentation to show you guys. Rubble of not just like, Friday night's trash, people, tossing beer bottles and things like that. I'm talking about medical supplies, vials of blood, shoes, clothes, and diapers. Isis is reminding me, diapers, like used diapers, but women's sanitary, napkins, just all types of aspect of life, like in these huge piles. And so as we're going through it, I'm just like, this is wild. How is this happening? This can't just be like beach trash. So I come to find out that what's actually happening is there's a way that, so the guys come and collect the bags after we bag it up. And once they do that, we're not 100% sure that they're going to the dump or where the dump is in the city of Dar es Salaam. It flows back into the water and it ends up right back in this little cul-de-sac of the beach where we clean up at, especially, when it rains. The canal, a lot of people throw trash in the canal. A lot of people who are in waste management positions, they take shortcuts and they just take people's trash and throw it in the canals. And when it rains, it flows right back. So there's levels of systemic, like all kinds of wrong there, lack of awareness, education, and then unfortunately, guys, between us, there's a lot of corruption in the government. So it's very hard to make an impression without being able to, pay a lot of money or somehow, show that those who are in charge are making, who are lawmakers and things like that, making the whole horse and pony show. I'm just keeping it very upfront with you of the real issues that are happening here. And so you have the fishermen who depend on fishing, and their issue is that now they have to go a little bit further because now you've got trash suffocating the fish. You've got the fish not coming closer to the shore. You've got, just all kinds of issues. And this is their way of life. And not only that, you have obviously who wants to be buying fish from water that has blood vowl in it. So I say all of that to say that really and truly, guys, it's a war between the old mindset and the new mindset, the younger ones. So really the focus is to get the youth engaged, raise the awareness with them as well. One of the things that we hope to do is set up some type of tier system where there is an education or raising awareness at the different levels. There's going to have to be some type of maybe workshops for government officials and also for the fishermen and then also for the youth. So there's a whole lot of different pieces here. And I know I'm talking fast because I'm trying to really maximize the time under the circumstances. But for the most part, this is where we want to get the youth involved as to how to really paint this picture in a palatable way and also empower them. Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Okay, and also empower them to be the change agents, here in this country, and also to build the bridge back to Baltimore, which has similar issues, not to the same, dimension, but there's an exchange I'm hoping to happen. So when I say the bridge over troubled waters, it's that. And tonight I was also hoping to connect with anyone in the network who is working outside of the country. I remember I sat in one, although this was Hawaii, but I think someone had presented, Gina, from, was it Hawaii or somewhere? It was within the United States, but I feel like there was still, some cultural awareness or cultural things to consider. And I can't remember her name, but I remember she had like an elder there who was talking about, different parts of their culture and how they, huh?
Alaska. There was an Alaska elder here a few weeks ago.
Oh,
Or
Alaska.
a few months
Okay.
ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to see if there was another part of the Clean Network or anyone else who is working outside of like, U.S. territory, or just how to kind of like get some guidance, even on the website, if there's any resources anyone can share, email or point me to, as far as navigating as a foreigner, because it's not like the U.S. where I can just jump in and start, writing letters and showing up here and showing up there. There's a lot to consider here, and also to get the youth engaged. For example, there's a school that we approached recently with another organization here, Six Radit, as far as getting the students involved in coming out to Safi Day, because right now the numbers are going down for the beach cleanup. We don't have many people coming out, but the issue there is, of course, well, who's going to pay the teachers, right, on a Saturday to supervise? Who's going to, organize and coordinate all of that when they're on a restricted budget, or this is just not their focus? It's not. So just trying to be very creative culturally, as well as there's a crossing over that needs to happen to bring the message to especially the youth in public and private educational sectors. So I know that I'm talking very fast, but I hope that that's making some kind of sense. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Yes, and Amber, I hope you could talk a little bit about how you and ISIS are using like the arts as a way to tap into not only your healing, but educating as well.
Well, yeah, so we want to utilize the things that we're already doing, and part of ISIS homeschooling is really tapping into the creative artist that she is and becoming. Part of that is, one is we're looking at, with a lot of this trash that we're picking up, there's one of the things here about Tanzania that's extra special, that's synonymous with Baltimore, as well as it is an arts district. It's an arts hub. Like it's a very creatively rich place. And so we have a young lady. There's a young lady who does art with bottles, with caps, the bottle caps, with all kinds of trash. I mean, she literally makes clothes with them. And so one of the ideas that we're working out is possibly having a fashion show where we can raise money to fund our efforts. ISIS is more so in the dance and music sector. So, you know, she's made up some songs that she taught this past Saturday. ISIS, can you go grab the drum real quick, please? Because we're going to sing the song for you guys. We're going to sing it for you. Go grab the drum, please, and the shaker. Just take this with you.
And
So,
Amber, maybe you can also have ISIS introduce herself as well.
Okay, she'll be right back. We're walking through with the computer light. She's using a computer light to go get something, to go get the drum. But so this past Saturday, we had a Safi Day meeting, and while the adults were working some things out, we had about 4 or 5 Tanzanian children there, ages 14, 13, and 11. And ISIS sat with them, and they did like vocabulary exchange. She taught them English, they taught her Swahili, and then she made up a song last week that she taught them. So we're hoping to connect through the creative arts, because it's a way to, I guess, to bond with them, to meet in an intersecting place. Are you okay? Yeah. And so before we go through the song, I'll have ISIS introduce herself. 1 second here. Just go ahead and introduce. I'll do that because I don't have a lot of. Go ahead. Hello, sorry. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, hello. My name is Isis. I'm 16 years old, and I am a BGJWC youth warrior. Working in Tanzania. So this song that I have prepared is about geology. I'm sorry. Take this. Take this. Okay. Is that it?
Keep in mind they're in the dark, you all. We appreciate you, Amber and Isis.
100%.
We got the computer screen light. I'm holding it open to her. Here she goes. Okay, while I have the phone in my left hand. And we got the phone charged up to the computer so we can get some more juice. That's what we got to do. Okay, so first, if you want to so ISIS has a love for geology. You want to tell them a little bit about that? Earth science. Okay, so recently, excuse me, I've actually just like been getting into geology, realizing my love for the earth. I didn't realize how much I've actually
taken an interest in the earth in all kinds of ways. I've always loved geography. I've always loved rocks, playing in the soil, geology, anything that has to do with the earth, really. I've always loved it. So I think that this song was a creative way of incorporating my love for creative arts along with my love for the earth or for geo. So I think that this is a cool way to create some terminology in a creative way.
Okay, so stand by, guys. She's going to, I don't know how it will translate over the phone, but just stand by and listen to this song, and then we'll translate it for you.
Sounds good.
Swahili, kwa Kiswahili, Swahili, kwa Kiswahili, jiolojia, sayansi, kwamba dunia, madini, mazingira, na maenzi. This is in English. This is in English. Geology, science, rock, earth, mineral, environment, information. These are the practice words. Hadi, Ademo, Ya, Mazoezi. Good job. Good job, guys. I'm telling you. This
Yeah.
is what we call Kumumba.
Creativity, right?
Yeah, because Kumba was a presentation we did on the 31st of December, guys, and it is the sixth principle in the Kwanzaa celebration, and it means to do what you can in the way that you can to make your community more beautiful and beneficial than you found it. So we continue to live that out over and over, even in this, good job, baby, even in this situation here. Coming from the West, you've got all of the things. You've got your office set up, you've got your lights on. You don't think about what life could be like and how you would navigate through things if one of those things were out of place, right? And the connection here is, for example, just on a practical level for some understanding, is our home Wi-Fi is connected to the power. So when the power is out, we don't have Wi-Fi. We've got to use mobile data, which you've pretty much got to pay per diem. And then this phone that we're using is a local Tanzanian phone. It gets hot. So if we were to use Zoom on this phone here, the Zoom app, we would literally have to stop. It will cut off. We have to run, put it in the freezer, get it. Like, there's all these different parts of getting through things in life that from the West, it was so much easier. And so when we think about that, for us, we can manage still, but there are people who you're talking about, it affects their shelter, it affects their food, it affects their business. Just today we went to the, how do you say the little market? The who? The Sakoni. It means like a little market. It's like a little shack where you have a mama selling her fruit and her produce. That's her little business. Well, today I went there, and like most of the stuff, it sat too long. This is organic fruit. It can't stay out long, but it's been raining. It's been raining. So she lost a lot of produce. Now, when you're looking at children and learning capacity, a lot of them they can't go to school on the days when that happens. They can't, there's so many levels of impact that it has here. That we really deem it an injustice because the things that need to happen are not happening systemically. But the creative art of this, it helps our mental health. I'm going to pass the phone again to Isis and ask her to share a time when I literally was going nuts in here. And she suggested that we sing, and I'm going to pass it over and let her finish, and she'll tell you what happened.
Okay, so there was this one time that the power went out, and I believe it was under the same circumstances. It was nighttime, so it was dark. it was hot. We didn't have any of the fans running, and we were just sitting down. And I remember telling my mom that I had watched this series on Netflix, and it was about African folktales reimagined. But I remember one of the episodes. In one of the episodes, there was this tribe or this group of people. They were singing and they were dancing to bring forth rain because it was dry and they had a drought. And of course, that affects their food. They didn't want to have a famine, so the community gathered to do dances, to perform, to sing, and it brought the rain. So I remember telling her about that, and I was like, well, what do you think if maybe we tried to sing now and clap to try to bring power back? And so we did. We sang it in Swahili. So in Swahili, the word for electricity is umeme. So we sang umeme, and maybe 10 minutes later, the power came back on, and I was so happy. I was so excited. So and I think we did do it the other day as well. It happened again. The power came back on. And that also reminds me of another experience that I had. I believe this is when we first came to Tanzania. Maybe, I think 4 months. We were still very new here. I had a Zoom class internationally, and my power went out in the middle of my class. And I remember my teacher and my fellow classmates, they said they were sending me power through the screen. And I think the same thing, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, the power came back on. So that just goes to show that your words and your intention, as long as you have the good, pure-hearted intention to bring the power back, so long as it's something that you want in the power of your words, it will come to life. Absolutely, absolutely. And this is why we're looking to really empower the youth, because literally they are the generators, specifically in African culture, whether you're talking about Africans from the continent or African Americans. Dance is not just, for performing arts. It's not just for entertainment. It's a way of life. Here culturally, dance is what happens when there are weddings, marriages, they're dancers. When there's funerals, there's dancers. When there's babies being born, there's dancers. Different rituals, there's dancers. When kings have to speak, leaders have to speak. If there's a war, there's dancers. Dance is one of the things that has become the symbol of communication, celebration, and even lamentation. So I can't say that I necessarily had all the positive intention with when I was in the room with her that night singing that song. I think honestly, I was just in delirium state at that point. I really was just like, look, I'm going crazy, and okay, we're gonna sing, that's fine. But it brought us back into a conversation, doing some studies about the different cultures on the continent that really do support the idea of rain dancers, when there's drought. Okay, so so we're coming from a place where, okay, you can run and lobby, right? And you can write letters and you can have campaigns, but there are lots of communities here on the continent where they connect with nature and they communicate with nature through dance, through the arts, through singing, through instruments, and they call the rain when it's a drought. So those are the type of things that we're exploring as well, and trying to incorporate it into lesson plans and combining it, integrating it with what we're finding on the Clean Network, so that we have a bridge being built between here and in Baltimore to empower, both communities in the climate, the environmental injustices that are being experienced. Because if you don't have money, if you don't have, literally, if you don't have money, you don't have power in in our society. If you don't have the income, or the mind really to think of these things. I mean, the last thing anybody is thinking about is a Safi day of beach cleanup when they can't, when they're losing their produce because of the rain, And I will say that I don't know that it's necessarily connected or whatever,
But I will say that when we came back to Tanzania in February, the weather was very much different. I saw a lot more, what do you call those things? The planes with the chemtrails, right? We see a lot of more of that happening. The sky is not the tropical blue that we first encountered, very cloudy. Air is thicker. Air is thicker. People are sicker. There's just a lot of different factors here, you know, and there's a whole lot of dots I'm putting out on the grid. But the main connection is that the power is literally with the people. And I believe that as we connect the youth with the elders and build a bridge here all the way back to Baltimore, we can definitely have an exchange of some solutions while the rest of the world is, you know, figuring it out, I guess, because we can't wait until, yes, we're searching for funding. Yes, we need those things, but there's life still happening. And so if we don't get creative and do what we can do in the way that we can do to make our communities better and more beautiful than we found it, then we will always be stuck in this round and round. So it's not the presentation I prepared for. It's not the, you know, the visual, the wonderful visuals I wanted to present it, but I hope that I was able to, in this way, communicate what we've been kind of exploring in the past year, and looking forward in this year is really being able to just build from that and having a lot more cultural exchange opportunities. So please, any questions? I believe we may have some more time. Gina, if anyone has questions, we can use that to kind of exchange some dialogue. I would love to hear from you guys. It's kind of awkward not seeing you. Or if you have questions for Isis as well.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you for especially sharing the song, and then also sharing about the experiences, and Isis for introducing yourself. You know, being 16, it might be a little intimidating, and it's definitely tough not seeing you guys, but we really appreciate you making it work. Does anyone have questions?
I didn't have a question. I put this in the chat too, so you can get the link. Hopefully Lynn can maybe copy it for you. But I wanted to respond to something that Amber was asking about earlier in terms of like connecting with other folks in the Clean Network who might have experienced, you know, similar challenges or issues with some of the work that you all are doing. And I just wanted to say that, you know, there's always a limited number of folks from the actual network on the call, and sending an email to the network can potentially broaden, you know, those sorts of connections. There may be others who have, you know, international. I know there's at least a couple of folks from that were like part of Clean, the founding of Clean, and have gone on to found. Then I put the link in the chat for ECOS, education, communication, and outreach. I forget what the S is. Frank, I thought Frank came on earlier. May remember. Anyways, I put the link in the chat. That might be another group to join too, because I do know that that's much more international based in terms of focusing on climate education. They focus their work a lot more on like the ACE strategy and UN climate level stuff, but I do know, like I said, there's at least a few folks in there that have sort of moved from US to international climate education work. So that could be another place to sort of send an email and say, hey, does anyone else, you know, struggle with the same things that we do? So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. There are folks out there, and you may be able to, connect with others through either Clean or that ECOS group would be two I'd recommend looking at. Thank you, Gina. Put it in the chat. Climate education, communication, and outreach stakeholders community.
Thanks, Katie.
Sana, thank you so much. Lynn, do you mind putting if you haven't already, put my email address in the chat for me, please?
Yes,
she did already.
And I also just emailed you.
Y'all all too well.
I also just emailed you the information that Katie shared too.
Okay.
Thanks, Lynn, and thanks.
Yeah, because you guys do such amazing work, and like yeah, it's just so cool to connect with you all here, but definitely different than, at least for me personally, what I do with climate education work. So hopefully there's some other folks, yeah, that that might be better to connect with.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Would love to hear from anybody else.
And I know some of you actually work specifically with youth. And although the domestic arm of Baltimore Green Justice Workers Cooperative does not work specifically with the youth population, our international arm is. And so this might be a way for some of you who are in the States working with youth groups to connect with Amber and ISIS as they are organizing young people internationally as well.
Other thoughts or questions from the group here? I think it's really good to have this perspective because I've never been to Africa. I've never been to Tanzania, and I think that hearing what it's like on the ground is super important. And I'm just really impressed that ISIS is able to get such a real world education. Has it, how has it been like meeting other youth and trying to work with them? Do you feel like people are interested and engaged in what you're doing, or do you feel like it's a different culture there and people aren't as interested, the youth in particular?
Yeah, I will shoot this off and then I'll pass the phone to Isis. She can share from her experience at her cultural exchange program that she had last summer. But in general, just again, because of the different, just because of a lot of the adversity that people are facing, especially, you know, children in school, or it's something you have to sell. You know, when you talk about engagement or trying to, it's like you really have to motivate, inspire, or lead with demonstration, right? Make the impact. It's like you have to do the thing first and then show that, hey, this is what, you know, you might want to look at this. You might want to know about this. So we have not had large communities of Tanzanian youth that we've been interacting with. That will come. Right now, we're looking to just build the foundation of some solid relationships of people who are working with the youth. We live, for example, within walking distance to an orphanage called Mwandaliwa Orphanage. And at one point, we had conversations about both of us going to teach English with using creative arts, right? In English immersion. But they have some issues there that needed to be ironed out and a whole lot of other stuff. But so we didn't really get an opportunity to really engage with the children because just at that level there were some issues. And then in another aspect is we do have a lot of American youth here, African Americans who are here, teens and younger ones and teens who are also doing their own different versions of, you know, contributing into to the climate change issues. And so we're having those conversations too on how we can either partner with them or support each other or, you know, exchange resources and information in reaching out. And I think that that was one of the biggest revelations that I had more towards the latter part of last year, was telling Lynn, hey, you know, I think our strongest suit is really kind of linking arms with the fellow Americans who are here so that we can be stronger in trying to build this bridge. Isis had an experience that I'm going to let her share about the Teaching Artists Institute. It was creative arts for social transformation. So if you can please pose the question one more time for her, and I'm going to pass the phone for her to answer.
Hi, Isis.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just wondering, in your conversations and experiences with other youth, if you're getting the sense that they're as motivated and on board with this, or if the culture is such that you feel like you're kind of working against the tide and um, folks don't care as much as you might.
Yeah, so here specifically with the other African Americans that are here or the diaspora from the UK as well, I feel like the youth, they're not interested at all, really. At least with who I've personally met, I haven't met anybody who's taken an interest in social transformation per se or for the environment. Um, and if I'm being honest, actually, some of the people I know, they contribute to a part of the issue. I know people who they just throw, like when they're done with their water bottles, they'll just throw it out in the middle of the street. Even with the Tanzanian youth, and um, like I'll tell them, why do you do that? And they're just like, oh, I didn't feel like holding it or whatever. And I'm just like, it's contributing to the problem. So I noticed that a lot of the youth here, Tanzanian and diasporan, they're not as interested. And also with the Tanzanian students, a lot of them here, once they're finished with secondary school or high school, they go to school abroad. So they go and study abroad in college. They gain all their knowledge, but they're not able to use that knowledge back home in Tanzania, and not able to build their own country back up. Just because one, there is not a lot of opportunity for that here. There's not a lot of job opportunities. I've noticed even like with a lot of the drivers that we get or people that I know personally, they study, they go abroad, or they have these degrees in wonderful things that can help in so many different ways. And there's just not really much that they can do about it because there's not much opportunity here. They're just, they just have a lot of knowledge. For example, I think it was the other night we met a young lady who she's studying in aquatic science. And a lot of youth like that, they'll get their bachelor degree or their master's degree and things like that, and they're not able to help their own country or their own people, their own culture, because they don't pose a lot of opportunities for the help here in their own country. So what they do is they go abroad and go and help everybody else while their own country is still in need of help. So with the youth, it's also not that they're just not interested. There's just not many opportunities as well.
Thank you, Isis. I appreciate that thoughtful reflection.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to hear that that has been your experience. And I think it's important that you are there, hopefully having a positive influence on the people around you. And it's hard work. So it's good that you have stayed so motivated, but make sure to keep inspiring yourself and giving yourself support and resources to keep going, because that can be definitely very tough. But yeah, thank you both for your responses. Other questions?
Asante, there's another young guy. Well, he's now a young adult, but he is what I call, like, honestly, I pray that he's not a wasted gem, because his name is Mark. And he's a film director. He's a filmmaker, and he really focuses on a lot of the social issues here. And when I say filmmaker, not what we know as filmmaker, I mean like he borrows someone's camera and has a little gig and he gets it done, he puts it on IG, and then he like, that's it until another opportunity comes. But not only the eye that he has and the heart that he has for a lot of these issues is this man has a degree in marine biology. His mother has a degree in marine biology. His brother has a degree in marine biology. And so, but the work that they do has nothing to do with, their studies. He's passionate about aquaponics and like, educating people about aquaponics and fish farming and things like that. But there's no opportunity to apply those theoretics. There's no opportunity to put to work the things that he learned about. And so unless you're willing to go abroad and find an opportunity outside of the country, it's really just a lot of people end up in the pool of either tourism, so working in hotels, hospitality, or transportation, Uber drivers, and it's unfortunate, but that's what a lot of the youth end up in their young 20s. By the time they get to their young 20s, there's like this sense of despair, because it's like, okay, well, I made my parents proud, I've even made the whole village proud, but I can't do anything with this unless I leave, so that's pretty much the temperature here, as far as that goes. So I believe, though, I'm very hopeful and very optimistic that some type of creative way of training, raising awareness, and bringing solutions would ignite the fire in the youth again, and hopefully also in the decision makers, that they would start to make space for these young people.
That's a really interesting perspective, and one that I'm sure is actually felt in some rural communities in the United States as well. Granted, maybe not as difficult, but yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Jim has his hand up.
Yes, I thank you, Gina, and thank you, Lynn. So just responding on the different programs, be able to connect and be able to help one another. The work that the teams that I work with I would describe this way. A lot of people know this, but just putting it into this kind of perspective, they can fall into the categories of working with specific schools that are doing excellent work on climate education, to be models for what can be possible if teachers are supported and schools get into climate change, to be models and to connect with others, and that includes public schools, as the Bard School in Washington D.C., which is very heavily low income population in that area. Another would be with the after school programs or out of school programs. So I mean, those are ones where people are going to have some money, like the Girl Scouts or the Youth Climate Summits and so on. But absolutely, there is supporting and working with programs that do reach out to the communities, which we're including kids, runaway kids, and that there's lesser would be the science festivals, which are free and open to the public. But in the image behind me, that would be an example. In the city of San Francisco, there's a program that is reaching all communities, especially of color, to making sure there's opportunities and bring them up and into schools and into programs. So that is it's called the Mo Magic event, and we provide the hands-on science that has to do with climate change. That's about 1,000 students, and you can see the mayor of San Francisco at City Hall there. So the thing is, in the work we do, there is like a Venn diagram. There is some overlap, and I'm glad to check in with people over ways in which the different programs can work together. But so I'm just kind of offering to the extent we connect with students who might not even be able to have a regular school, and under the worst of what our society throws at people. I guess maybe the other one, though, is certainly in the students that I work with, and we know things, it is not a question of gloom and despair. There are students who absolutely are doing things on climate change, want to do things on climate change, and in fact want to, you know, make a societal difference. Of you need to listen to the young people and you need to include us, because we're going to do things on climate change, whether or not a politician is, or whether or not a school district is, or that. So anyway, I'm just kind of just throwing into the conversation of who's here and the way in which we might overlap in our work. So I kind of rambled on there. Apologies on that.
No, that's good and insightful. Thank you so much. That's appreciated.
Rachel Wellman put in the chat box, I'm not sure if this is relevant, but FXB Climate Advocates could be a good way for global students to connect. We connected with amazing youth in Africa last year.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
And
yeah, that'll be really good. That would be really good. I think that again, there's a big, so it's also very welcoming. So Caribou is, when people say Caribou Tanzania, it means welcome to Tanzania. There's a spirit of Caribou here for a lot of foreigners. Okay, so I think that there's also an expectation, right? That you're here, so you're obviously bringing a solution. You're obviously bringing something that's better than what we have on some level, whether it's investment, like I said, in tourism and real estate, or in some type of way, you're here to help build up on what we have. So I say that to say that I believe that the soil is becoming more fertile. I'm finding in the year, there are some challenges, of course. There's always weeds in a garden, right? But the soil is fertile. And I think that if we place the seeds in the right place where it's already been tilled, then we can cultivate something very beautiful here that may take some time and some strategy and some real partnerships. So I appreciate all of the leads, all of the resources, any information that you have. We may have to comb through it piece by piece, because like I tell, Lynn, that sometimes, even just getting on a Zoom is difficult, or, checking emails once or twice a week. So it's definitely not at the rate that would typically operate in from the West. Everything here is kidogo, kidogo, pole, pole, which means little by little, piece by piece. So, but please include any other resources or information or websites, anything like that. And Lynn, I appreciate you very much for just copying that and sending it to me, please. But I guess we have a few minutes, or some final minutes. I just wanted to say thank you all for just bearing with us throughout the call. And Gina, I miss y'all so much. I know it's been a while, but I really was hoping to see your faces. But thank you so much for, just working with us and bearing with us through it. We are doing well. We're doing okay. We are not okay. We are okay. But like I said, there are some big challenges that impact how we operate and how we get to work throughout from day to day, the logistics of everything. So thank you so much for your patience and your grace, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for working through all of that. And again, I think it's good for us to see outside of our bubble and remember what's happening in other parts of the world that are not like what's happening here, and be reminded of that is very, very important. It's kind of like a reality check a little bit for us. So I appreciate you guys bringing that perspective.
And thanks for pushing through your
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the dark, and with all your challenges today. Thanks, Lynn, for helping, and Amber and Isis for still talking to us and telling us all about what you're doing. We really appreciate it.
yeah, so Amber and Isis, thank you so much. I love you all so much. And then, this is something for us that, as our organization is growing, we just got out the best Christmas present in the world. We got our 501c3 tax exempt status just before Christmas. So we're really excited about that. And so that puts us in a better position to be able to seek some additional funding. We just submitted a proposal for Earth Rising, and we're hoping that that money will allow us to fund Amber at a greater level than what we've been able to do so far. We're looking for other foundation connects. So if you are aware of any international funding around climate literacy, the adverse effects of climate change, and um, cultural opportunities for cultural connects, please forward that information to us. As an organization, we're hoping to coordinate a cultural exchange in 2025, where we will have a group of young people going to Tanzania and vice versa, a group of young people coming to Baltimore.
Congratulations. That's a really big deal. That'll be
Thank you.
so helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your great work.
So,
Asante Sana, guys. Asante Sana. What's the word for umeme? Power. Electricity means umeme, and wamaji means of water. So like hydroelectricity. So before we go, if everyone could just clap their hands with us as we beat the drum in singing the chorus, umeme wamaji. 3 good times. Umeme wamaji, umeme wamaji, umeme wamaji, umeme wamaji, umeme wamaji, umeme wamaji.
Nice. I was clapping along.
Yay, me too.
In the dark and sweat.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Lynn, I love you much. Thank you for connecting us through the phone. I just really was like, I'm so over the day. Like, I really get into my feelings when the lights go out like this for this long. But thank you so much. And guys, again, thank you, Gina. I look forward to hopefully hopping on another Tuesday in the best way that we can. We continue to make all of our communities much better and beautiful
Thank
than we
you.
found it. So, usiku mwema, that means good night. And we thank you again.
Usiku
you.
mwema.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lynn. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Isis. We'll talk to you later.
Sante Pia, thank you too.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
See you later. Thank you.